Hello my fellow artisans and welcome to my second devlog. We are going into the more meaty part of the game, actually the more meaty part of the game development. You might have seen other people work on games or seen other devlogs, or you have done some research yourself because you want to make a game yourself. But for me, I always thought like the most difficult thing will be the art, especially in this game because I'm making everything in watercolor. I have an example for the first one right here. You can see behind me I work in watercolors. I love it a lot, but I decided to make this game entirely out of watercolors, trying to do as much in watercolor as possible. However, if you want to make a game, you actually need to know like what parts are going where, what you need to do and everything. Because if you only do the art, you have art, but you don't have a game. I can make as many of my backgrounds as I can possibly do in like a year, and I still don't have a game. And of course, for every game and every genre, things will be different, but I think the most important thing that every game needs is like a storyline, a flowchart, and a big list of all the tasks that you need to do. So let's first go over the storyline, because that is basically how this whole game was prompted, what I wanted to do with it. I was doing a monthly prompt exercise and suddenly I thought I want to make a game out of this. I quickly realized when I was trying to start making the game that everything that I had written down so far was a bit too short-handed to actually make a game out of. Like for example, every scene that I wanted to do had like one line for like, for example, stranger is drinking with a robot and woman is looking at the distance. Like that was the prompt that I wanted to make for that picture. But if you want to make a game, that's not enough. And a line like and subscribe if you like this video hopefully helps me get more subscribers. I'm trying to get to 300 this year, but it's not helpful for the game. So I started to expand every scene. I want more descriptive, like what I wanted to see, what I wanted to do. Thinking of what kind of puzzles I wanted to put in every scene, what actions should be done. And also what the follow-up would be. Like if there's a puzzle, will that immediately go into the next scene, or will something else happen? Is there dialogue, and so forth. I'm also thinking out all the extra objects that I want to be in there, because like only the background is not enough. I want puzzles, but I also want interactables, and that has to be worked out as well, and it should not be the same thing in every scene. For example, I have a very solar punk inspired look, so there are a lot of plants, and if you want something special like a plant with fangs, you don't put that one in every scene because that will be boring and actually become not special anymore. As of right now, I'm not finished with every scene yet. I had the prompts ready when I was working on like making it into paintings, but I'm pretty much like 3/4 done, and I'm working on the last scenes. It also means that sometimes I have to change the plot line a bit for the things that I had written down before, because it doesn't fit with the idea that I have right now, or it doesn't fit with the thing that the game is going to be. So there are certain scenes that I was like, oh, this is going to happen, and then the scene before that doesn't fit. So I was rethinking every scene with that. But I think making changes and rethinking the game halfway is kind of part of the process. The flowchart is a different monster that I had to tackle. I have made games before, like RPG games, and I am working on an ARG as well. The ARG puzzle is one of my favorites that I have done at the moment. I think it's very fun. And if you're interested, there's a link below that goes to the very first video. It is multimedia, so there is also a blog and there are all kinds of things, so be aware. I have not seen anyone who has solved it yet, and I'm really curious if you can solve the puzzles. But I've never made like actually a flowchart. I usually make things like lists of things that has to be done, and then halfway I'm thinking, oh, I'm missing this, I'm missing that, or I'm going to add a lot of things. I'm going off track. And flowcharts are a thing that actually needs to keep you back on track. Right now it's a big file with boxes and lines, and what it does is defines the flow of the game. And at its core, it is a visual representation of the system's logic. So it breaks down everything in easy to understand steps. For example, when the player does this, the game does that. When you click this part, this will happen, or this puzzle will pop up, etc. In this way, you can also identify like inputs, like outputs, how the processes will work from there. And it can also identify roadblocks. For example, if I have an idea, I want to do A and it has to develop into B, but there's nothing that connects them, I can see that in the flowchart. If I make a list, go A and then go B, I don't see that. And I also notice like inconsistencies sometimes within the storyline. Things just didn't add up, or I wanted to make a puzzle and you need to, for example, use a screwdriver. Where is the screwdriver coming from? And I had to go all the way back to a scene where it was logical to put a screwdriver in and then work that into the game. But with the flowchart you can also discover new opportunities because you can see things that first weren't there before. If you want to have multiple branches or have different storylines that come together or branch off, there are opportunities sometimes to make a completely different branch or have something interesting happening. Because it is my first time making this kind of flowchart, I was kind of struggling with it. Also, I'm not very big on thinking in like code or like logic. My brain is very creative and it goes every which way, so that's why I'm kind of struggling with it, but it does help me creating that structure. And even though the story that I'm trying to tell with this game is basically one way, it doesn't have many branch offs, it can still be difficult to connect some of the dots, like I said with the screwdriver. And sometimes I want to use a part of the game and I don't know where it's going to end. So that is what I'm figuring out right now. Just with the storyline, this flowchart is not finished yet, and I think it will change in the meantime while I'm making the game. It's not always solid and you cannot change anything. I think when you make a game it can be very fluid, and if you're thinking of one thing, of course don't change the entire game when you're halfway, but you can like change a little thing here or make the description a bit different there and so on. So it's not finished yet because I have not finished the entire description of the storyline, but it's coming there. It's about halfway. But what I did learn early on, because I was struggling with it, that it is very useful to use colors and symbols for different mechanism in the game. For example, puzzles I made yellow in the flowchart, and all the different objects are white, and if there is a specific part that needs to be used in a different scene, for example you have to pick it up and you have to use it in a different scene, it will be green and has a green dotted line going through where it's going to be used. So I did get a long way with it, and when it's finished I think I'm going to show it to my boyfriend because he actually knows how to make games. He has done it before and he can probably spot like things that I need to work on or if I'm missing something. All of this also counts for that long list of tasks that I was talking about at the start of this devlog. I'm using a task managing tool. The list is quite endless, especially if you see how many scenes I'm working with. It was a monthly prompt, so it has as many days as many scenes. And every scene has dialogue, puzzles, hidden objects, and they all need to be worked out. And as you can see, I'm working on it. I have not filled everything out yet. I have not used everything. Oh, just one thing. I don't have a budget right now for this game, and I know that makes it more difficult because I also, of course, want music later on and I want things. Right now, I'm saving up for buying a house together with my boyfriend. We need to get a mortgage, so we need to like every penny that we have. Um, I am expecting to have a house before this game is finished. We really hope so. And of course, I'm saving all kinds of things, but I don't have a budget for this game right now. And therefore, I'm using as many free apps as I can. A lot of paid for stuff can be found in like a slightly different version for free on the internet. Be careful, of course, with what you download. For example, I use Kanban-chi for my test list. If you use the trial version, you can do a lot of things. I just discovered that if you use the free version, so the lowest version, you can have like mostly 10 tasks, and otherwise your previous version is only read only, so that is a big bummer. So I'm looking into if I can find something else. It is a quite nice mode to see what kind of task needs to be done, what are you working on, and what is still like way in the future. For the flowchart maps, I use MindMaps 2.0. It's on Google Drive. It is a free app that you can download. I was struggling with it at first, but I think it's more because I never used a flowchart before. And actually it's not that difficult to learn like what you should do or how to use it. The storyline with the descriptions right now is just a brainstorm document, so I might turn that into like the flowchart as well. I'm not sure yet, but I want to make it a bit more concise. Like I said, with the flowchart, it is more logic based and you can see what is going on, what steps you need to take, and I think with the story it will be easier to see where I need to put some more dialogue or put something in the way of like what kind of objects needs to be where, etc. So that is basically where I'm at, and while I sort everything out, I'm also working on the backgrounds. I'm making the objects in watercolor, and I am just making more and more art, which will be fine. I think next time I want to talk about like what game engine I'm going to use, so look forward for that. But that was this for this devlog. Please like and subscribe if you like this video or you want to see more of my art. So I'm going to work on my game. See you next time. Bye bye.